Hello, my name is Erkki Esser and I'm Associate Professor in Tallinn University of Technology in Estonia. I would like to introduce my paper that is titled Automating Detection of Occurrences of PostgreSQL Database Design Problems. Let me start with the outline of presentation. First of all, I give short background and motivation. After that, I give an example of SQL database design problems. And next it's time to introduce the main contribution of my work. It is a catalog of SQL queries, meaning select statements. These queries have been written for PostgreSQL. These queries operate based on a part of a database that is called system catalog. System catalog contains information about database structure and database behavior. And the goal of these queries is to identify occurrences of problems of database design in this particular database. Some of the queries are such that the result directly points to possible occurrences, but other queries are about specific aspect of a database, and after that human expert has to review the results and decide as to whether there is some problem or not. And finally, I would like to conclude and point to the future work with a current topic. So a good database design and following standards and practices are important prerequisites of well-maintainable SQL database-driven software. A database, like any other technical artifact, can have a technical debt, which is manifested by the occurrences of bad smells. The bad smells are problems that do not prohibit or prevent correct usage of database as of now. However, the presence and existence of these problems gradually makes it more difficult to learn, understand, extend, and maintain the database. And therefore, gradually we make development of further development of a database more and more difficult. Various case studies show problems in the designs of existing databases. I myself work as a university lecturer. I teach courses about database design and development, and I have to give quick, thorough, and frequent feedback to students. And of course, automating the process would help a lot. And this was exactly the reason behind my initial attempt to create such queries. However, I quickly realized the usefulness of automation outside the teaching domain as well. So all kinds of developers can actually use these queries in order to improve the design of the database. Now let me give you quickly some examples of design problems. One big class of design problems is bad names. Here are two examples. So first of all, primary key column name is ID and the check constraint name is check. Both names are very general. We don't refer to the context. The name of a primary key column, for instance, would make it more difficult to write join queries, and the name of a check constraint would make it more difficult to understand the error messages that the system produces if this check constraint is violated. Another class of problems is inconsistency. Here are two inconsistencies. First of all, checking textual values in different columns takes place differently by using different Boolean expressions. These Boolean expressions implement slightly different constraints, and now there is a question as to whether it is intentional or not. Another inconsistency is that the constraint is named user and another constraint is named by the system. There is an example of violating the single responsibility principle. So there is a check constraint that has multiple tasks and multiple reasons to make changes in a constraint. So for instance, if one violates the constraint, then the error message that one gets will be very general. And also making changes of constraint for one column requires dropping and recreating constraint for another column as well. Another class of problems is lack of constraints. So only the primary key is declared in the table. There are no additional unique constraints. And also only the primary key column is mandatory, and all the other columns are optional, meaning that they permit. And yet another class of problems are potentially incorrect constraints. So name and description have the same field size. Usually description is longer than name. And also checking name and description takes place differently by using different Boolean expression. Again, it raises question why it is so. What is the contribution of my work? I have produced a catalog of SQL queries that detects exactly these kind of problems and many more similar problems. The URL of project homepage is here. It is in GitHub, and if you go to the homepage, you will find from here reference to the browsable catalog of PostgreSQL system catalog-based SQL queries that can be used to find information about the database, including occurrences of design problems. You also find from here a reference to a page with up-to-date statistics of the catalog. And you also find from here an example of using the queries to analyze the design of a database. If you click to this link to the browsable catalog, then this page will open. As you can see, it is possible to search queries because catalog has quite extensive metadata that characterizes queries. Currently, there are 538 queries in the catalog, but I think that the number of queries will increase because this process of improving and extending the catalog is open-ended, and there are always new things to add. In case you click on a button, in case of a particular query, you will see a page with query metadata. With actual query that returns information about problem, and in case of some queries there is also a SQL statement that produces fix to this problem, meaning that it produces SQL statements or SQL statements that can be used in order to fully or partially fix the problem. If you go to the statistics page, you find from there various statistics about queries. For instance, the number of queries based on query type, and also the number of queries based on different categories. So the problem detection queries point directly to the possible occurrences of database design problems. Sort and measure queries return numeric values that characterize the database, and general queries return some information about some specific aspect of the database that can be used in order to decide as to whether there is some problem or not. Here you see improved design. So I have added constraints. I have increased field size, and for instance, instead of one check constraint, now I have two different check constraints, and also I have improved naming of different database objects and components of this database. I use these queries in the teaching process. So simple software can be made to execute the queries. And for instance, during the 2018-2019 fall semester, 1.5 million executions of individual queries were conducted. The queries facilitate quick, frequent, and thorough feedback to students, and the results of many queries point to problem occurrences with high certainty, but some need review together with a lecture. And of course, the earlier a problem is detected, the cheaper and easier it is to fix it. So to conclude, we have created and published a catalog of 538 queries as of now for identifying occurrences of design problems in PostgreSQL databases. Problem detection queries codify problems that in most cases can occur in a database of any SQL database management system. And it's important to stress that there is a set of generic problems that can manifest itself in models, application source code, as well as database design. And this should be stressed in the educational process. So future work should include identifying additional design problems, writing SQL queries to detect these, reducing technical debt in the queries, analyzing larger databases, translating the queries for other SQL database management systems, and also identifying design problems in databases that are based on data model other than SQL. So thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, then you can, for instance, write to me by using this email address. And also, let me remind you that reference to a catalog can be found from this page. This is the home page of a project. So thank you for your attention.